I think the thing we've all come to appreciate with Prospera as a character is the fact that she always wakes up and chooses violence. Even if at the end of the day, she wants to build this quote-unquote peaceful world, with Quiet Zero make her daughter be truly free and happy, at the end of the day, you can't deny the fact that she does wake up and choose that violence. And as much as you sometimes want to smack her upside the head, you can't deny how effective she actually is at getting the job done. As soon as you see them come to Earth and they have their Gundams, they have their weaponry, you know damn well that, yeah, she's gonna cause something to kick off for whatever she wants to do. And ultimately, when you see all the bits fly around and then the one tank then aims at her and fires, you're thinking, oh no, what is she doing? Making false chaos as a way to then grab her own weapon and use that opportunity to go destroy all the hidden Gundams in order, because one, she doesn't like the weaponization of Gundams, but she also doesn't want them to potentially be used against her as she builds Quiet Zero up to completion. You may want to say she is a crazy mofo, which I constantly do, but you can't deny she is very good at what she does. Now, full live reaction to Witch from Mercury episode 19 is available on my Patreon if you do want to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch the episode. This was without a doubt an establishing and setup style episode, but in very Witch from Mercury fashion, the setup is still so engaging. There's a lot of big bombshells, and I think the two biggest are without a doubt Prospera making chaos occur, but two, what they did with Soletta. Now, I saw a lot of people say that Soletta was going to become some psycho villain and she was gonna choose chaos herself, and that really didn't make sense to me, especially given what we've seen. If anything, I was expecting her to curl up and be lifeless, which is more or less what happens. The biggest surprise for me was actually that she came very quickly in terms of turning around her mindset of the reason she was abandoned. And it's not because now she trusts Prospera. The fact, this is the biggest moment for her. She looked at what the Ariel did, and she was looking and seeing the chaos on the TV saying, now I understand. She knew that mom was going to do something, she didn't know what, but she wanted me away from it so I wouldn't be caught up in it. So the fact that she's looking at Ari, aka the Ariel, as being like, you tried to protect me and I can now see what you were protecting me from, is a lot more interesting than her flipping a switch and becoming a psychopath, because that really wouldn't make sense for what we've seen from her character. If anything, she should curl up in a ball and be lifeless, which is what happened, but they didn't waste any time throwing her back into it because they did it in a very natural way. Once she got hungry enough to grab some food from the refrigerator, Choo-Choo, I thought Choo-Choo was about to give her a choo-choo train again, but no, she drags her and shows her her other friends who didn't abandon her. And going from thinking your world has been shattered, you lost Mio, you lost Ari, you lost Mom, to then still having this big group of friends who are caring about you, of course it's going to be enough to not let her go back to that room and feel sad. I think that's what makes it entirely just really well written. They didn't turn her into some psycho villain because that really wouldn't make sense, and we already have Prospera, we don't need a second version of that, right? And I think it's so fun watching a show like this where you have so many different things occurring. You have Shadiq, who basically, you know, they're dropping bombshells of who he's working with, and it's a matter of, does he know he's being played? Is he also is he trying to play them? At the end of the day, though, I mean, between Guel with that one kid who didn't end up dying when he was basically, he wasn't doing too well after he killed his father, basically drops a code name that obviously then ends up relating to who they should be worried about. You might want to say, well, what type of idiot like Shadiq would use a name that could be traced back to him? That's not him. That's the dumb adults using something that could easily be traced back because they have a big mouth. And just to see the numerous sides and factions, I mean, the casual stab, I mean, I expected something was gonna happen, but I was kind of expecting it to be anyone else but this woman who's just like, hey, go, the door closed, you hear the gunshot go off. It's chaos in a setup episode. That's like the best way to put it. They kick things off and they're not wasting any time, but the more you watch Witch from Mercury, you have to say this world and universe of Gundam, this section of the universe of Gundam, has so much potential. Not only if you just look at how many gunplas are being sold for the Witch from Mercury series, the fact that there's so many stories outside of the main cast we're following, whether in the past, whether in the future of this timeline, all these stories and the number of Gundam anime they could tell with just the Gundam Witch from Mercury universe has me really, really eager to see what the studios will do going forward, because honestly, this is an insanely popular and profitable franchise now. Even if they planned 24 episodes total initially and they were going to wrap up the Soletta, Ari, Prospera storyline here with those episodes. There's so much to do, and I'm honestly really hoping they dive deeper and deeper, and I'm seeing more and more people say that, like, there's just, out of all the Gundams recently, like, this has the most potential because there's just so much going on, especially with how they twisted the Earthian and Spacian stories from what you typically see in these series. But I like the fact that when they do go to Earth, it feels normal for what you expect, right? So you're driving in on what is basically one step away from being a Batmobile. Those cars looked cool, I gotta admit. You get out, the protesters are there. Well, why do we have our Gundams? Like, we're not choosing violence. Why do we have these? The lie at face value makes sense. Well, we want to make sure no one does anything, right? You know, if we have no weaponry, then who knows what could happen? People could jump up and try to stab us. The fact that things start looking rather good, especially when Mio is kind of painting the picture of like, hey, we're here to use this as technology for medical purposes. And I love the fact this is probably my favorite scene in the entire episode, which no one else will probably care about me. But the framing of this show is so good. So a round table is designed to basically think of King Arthur. The reason he had a round table was to show that everyone was equal no matter where you sat at the table. And in this episode, the round table's there, but Mio has empty spots next to her, and it makes her feel isolated, small, as everyone else is basically hovering around her. The way they use something that's designed to make everyone feel equal, but to paint her into like this corner and say, we don't want you around here, I thought was so brilliant because it immediately sets the tension and the atmosphere of what we're seeing from these characters. And just seriously, you have to commend this show. Like, they know how to make, whether characters are making you mad, they make you just worried about what's happening, they always make sure every character is important. I didn't think Martin would have any relevance to this show outside of being a background side supporting character, and while he may have blabbed to the wrong people and he may have made mistakes, at the end of the day, I like what they've done with him and how without Martin kind of doing everything he's done, there's no way Nika's kind of secret would have been exposed and potentially them bringing Nika back to their side after hearing her side of the truth. And thanks to Soletta being there, she also was able to defend, so it wasn't just she was this horrible person who betrayed us, right? All these little moments build a Witch from Mercury episode into what it is, and whether it's a slower setup style episode that pops off at the very end, or an episode that's just pure pain and heartbreak and bloodshed, all the types of episodes are just so good. And I think the first core had so many establishing and setup moments that this core is just payoff after payoff every single week. And every single time I think, okay, yep, all the big cards are now laid on the table, there's still new ones that get thrown out, and I absolutely love that. I'm quite interested to see where Shadik's gonna go, I'm interested to see where Guel's gonna go. All these characters have so much possibilities going forward, and I'm so just jumping for joy. Maybe more figuratively right now, but literally after I get out of this chair. But thoughts and feelings yourself down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here. Of course, ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more Gundam Witch from Mercury on the channel. And as I mentioned, full live reaction to this wonderful episode is available on my Patreon. And while you're there, you'll also get a video shoutout. So today, we have Squilton, Roger Mullins, Rachel McPhee, and Taylor. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.